Shalom, Shalom Israel. Peace and blessings to you all. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem Mashiach Yahweh Shah. Barakath Yahweh, Barakath Yahweh Shah, 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 Barakath Yahweh, Barakath Yahweh, Bahashem Mashiach Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Kakadash. All praises, honor, and glory due. Shalom, Shalom Israel. Hope you all are doing well. I pray that this message reaches you in a good spirit. And I pray that it's edifying for you all. As we draw into the end of our captivity and we are about to step into the blessings in which was promised us so long ago, really been meditating on the greatness, the great things the Most High has done for us. I mean, us having been woken up to this truth and the point in time that we are right now is so incredible, and it's worth giving praises for every single day. This world that we live in has been polluted, it's been defiled. It's allowed wickedness to grow and elevate every single day, and it's flourished. And yet, despite all of that, the Most High still, He woke us up in the midst of our enemies. As He said, He's preparing the table in the midst of the enemies right now, pursuing the Psalms 110. And now that we have turned back to our power, the whole planet is now due for destruction because of the atrocities they have done to our people. We've seen our people get gunned down in the streets. We've seen our people been denied every single thing, been treated and deemed less than human. And now that's not in the Southern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom as well. You know, as Israel as a whole, from all 12 tribes, you know, we have been completely stripped of everything. They tried to keep us away from our power, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. And their goal was just to completely take control of us. And they, in a sense, they succeeded in that. They wanted to control our minds, bodies, and spirits, and that's what they did. So let's pursue the Psalms 83. Psalms 83. We're gonna read verses 1 through 5. Psalm 83. We're gonna start at verse 1. It says the Psalm of Asaph, verse 1. Keep not thy silence, O power, and hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Salah. And they took crafty counsel, meaning they had to really sit down and really devise a wicked plan, carefully planned it out, and they just really had to, I mean, what they did to Israel, you couldn't just think of that in one day. You know, what they did to our people, that had to be thoroughly planned out, and it was so slick and sly. And they just planned these out to completely destroy us. Verse 4, they have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And that's exactly what they did. They gave us false information that took us away from our power and from our true heritage. Verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent, and they are confederate against thee. So all these people, and the verses on down explains the nations who really had their hand in it. And they all banded together to destroy us. They kept us from everything. They stripped us from everything. They took everything from us. You know, we the only people on the planet who do not know who we are. We've been given bywords and in Proverbs as the curses said we would. And we lost everything. We lost our power. We lost His name. We lost our names. We had literally nothing in this world. We've been told we black, African Americans. You know, you're just nothing but all of these bywords. And we didn't even know the Most High's law. You know, we didn't know His precepts. We didn't know the wisdom of His word. We lost everything. Everything was taken from us. And we learned the way of these heathens. And learning their ways kept us even farther from the Most High. So I want to go over, and the main reason I'm making this video is because of this precept here. Judith, the book of Judith, which is in the Apocrypha. We're going to go to chapter 5, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 21. Judith, chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 1 through 21. Now, what's happening, to get a little background so far, is that Nebuchadnezzar's general name is Holofernes. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. He's basically the general of this army of Nebuchadnezzar, and what they've done, what was commanded of him was to take a large group of the military and go around and just destroy as many countries as he could. Go around. They chapter 2 of this, then they went and destroyed all the countries on the west side, and they made their way all the way through, had these countries bowing down to them. They started worshiping Nebuchadnezzar as their god, you know, completely taking over everybody. And now it got to the point where they get to Judea, and now they set up shop. So the general Holofernes, he set up shop. They camping outside of Israel. They were there for a whole month before they even made a move. So they just packed up shop and they just set up camp right there, right outside. They there for a whole month. They about to make their move. So verse 5, or chapter 5 is where things start to pick up. So let's start at verse 1 of Judith, chapter 5, starting at verse 1. It says, Then was it declared to Holofernes, the chief captain of the armies of Ashur, that the children of Israel prepare for war, and had shut up the passages of the hill country, and had fortified all the tops of the high hills, and laid impediments in the champion countries. Wherewith he was very angry, and called all the princes of Moab, and the captains of Ammon, and all the governors of the seacoast, and said unto them, Tell me now, ye sons of Canaan, who this people is that dwelleth in the high country, and what are the cities that they inhabit, and what is the multitude of their army, and wherein is their power and strength, and what king is set over them, or captain of their army, and why have they determined not to come and meet me more than all the inhabitants of the west? So Holofernes is confused as far as he's angry at Israel, because Israel, all the other countries that he fought so far, the moment they seen them come up, they all met him, you know, ready for war. You know, the moment they saw him, it was on sight. But they said, you know, Israel a little different. Israel just got ready for the defenses. They blocked up some passages. So Israel, you know, we was on the hills, and you know, the way we were acting toward them when they got here is much different than everybody else that he fought so far. So he trying to figure out basically who we are, and like why they so different, why we so different. So verse 5 is what we picking up. Then says Achir, the captain of all the sons of Ammon, let my lord now hear a word from the mouth of thy servant, and I will declare unto ye the truth concerning this people which dwelleth near thee, and inhabiteth the hill countries, and there shall no lie come out of my mouth of thy servant. Verse 6, this people are descendant of the Chaldeans. And the Chaldeans is talking about the land of the Chaldeans, not, you know, we're not actually coming from the Chaldeans, because that's where Abraham was born, and that's what he was journeying through. In verse 7 is where it speaks on that. And they sojourned heretofore in Mesopotamia, because they would not follow the gods of their fathers, which were in the land of Chaldea. For they left the way of their ancestors, and worshipped the power of heaven, and the power whom they knew. So they cast them out from the face of their gods, and they fled into Mesopotamia, and sojourned there many days. Then their power commanded them from the place where they sojourned, and to go into the land of Canaan, where they dwelt, and where increased in gold, with gold and silver, and very much cattle. But when a famine covered all the land of Canaan, they went down into Egypt, and sojourned there. And while they nourished and became there a great multitude, so that no one could number their nation. Verse 11. Therefore the king of Egypt rose up against them, and dealt subtly with them, and brought them low with laboring in brick, and made them slaves. So this is what we enter into Exodus. So he's going through our entire history of our people right now. So he just spoke about basically just hit up on Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and how we went through there. And now he getting to where we in captivity in Egypt. Verse 12. It says, then they cried unto their power, and he smote all the land of Egypt with incurable plagues. So the Egyptians cast them out of their sight. And the power dried the Red Sea before them, and brought them to the Mount Sinai and Kadesh Barnea, and cast forth all that dwelt in the wilderness. So they dwelt in the land of the Amorites, and they destroyed by their strength all them of Esbon, and passing over Jordan, they possessed all the hill country. And they cast forth before them the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite, the Sichemite, and the Girgazites, and they dwelt in the country many days. And whilst they sinned not before their power, they prospered, because the power that hateth iniquity was with them. But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles, very sore, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs. And the temple of their power was cast down to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. So he's telling them how the moment we were gone from our power, we were destroyed in battles. You know, you get into Judges, book of Judges, where we were going from captivity to captivity. We were losing battles. We were getting destroyed as a people. You know, we couldn't stay on the right track because we just kept sinning, going off, the Most High saving us, and then we're going off again. You know, it's just a repetitive process. Verse 19, it says, but now are they returned to their power, and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. Verse 20, now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sinned against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them, and their power be for them, and we become a reproach before all the world. So I brought this out mainly because of verses 20 and 21, but I want to give you the whole backstory of everything that was going on. So the heathens knew the mighty works of our Father Yahweh. You know, this is an Ammonite telling him everything. You know, they know very well. They knew damn well that if we were found free of iniquity, if there was no iniquity in us, our Father, our power, would defend us with against all enemy attacks that will come against us, because they knew of our history. We were worldwide, world known. Everybody knew about the Israelites. Everybody knew about the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You know, I mean, this is before Yahweh Shai, but everybody knew our power. But however, they also knew that if we were in error, we could be conquered. So this is what that general was, that captain was telling them. He was saying, well, if this people is in error with their power, if they are sinning, you know, if they're found with iniquity, we could take them over. Why? Because their power won't defend them. They can be defeated. So what these slick devils did in this day and age is they consulted together, pursuant to Psalm 83. They consulted to change everything regarding our nation and our power, so that we would be lost. You know, we don't know the way of truth. You know, they took that. Well, we know it now, but you know, before then, you know, they took that away from us. They instituted their demonic way, their demonic teachings, their false doctrines. Told us we were African Americans. Told the Northern Kingdom Mexicans, Native Indians, you know, Tontos, wetbacks, whatever this, you know, slur or whatever it can be. You know, everything that's not Israel. They told us we were everything but Israel. They and told us that we was the bottom people. You know, they just look what they did to the Gadites, you know, Reubenites. They put them on reservations. The Northern Kingdom, they taught them about Jesus Christos. You know, they told us about Jesus Christ, and you know, they completely separated us. They took away our nationality, they took away our doctrine, took us away from our power. They changed the narratives of our master Yahweh Shai, turning him into something he's not. Change his name, change his doctrine, just keep us completely from the truth. You know, and if we were taught these lies, then you know we live in error, because that's all we know. And since we lived in error, the heathen knew that we'd forever be in ruin. That's what they decided to do. They want to keep us. They teach us lies so that we live out these lies, and we will forever be in ruin. And they knew that if we were forever in ruin, the power Yahweh Bashim Yahushua would never defend us, will never do this. And that's what the captain said in verse 20. So they did this by taking away our books that it kept us in darkness. Even reading the Apocrypha now, the Apocrypha is so great because it connects the history of, things. The 66 books, they only teach you so I don't mean to say it like that, but the 66 books, it only mentions the captivities that we've been through all the way up into the Persian, captivity that we were in. And then it goes from Persia and it skips to the Romans. Whereas the Greek, the Gregorian timeline, we was, captivity to the Grecians. That timeline was taken out. That's where the book of Maccabees comes in. And it connects that time period because they just skip straight to the Romans. Like, so you had to get to the Greeks, the Grecian Empire, then you got to go to the Greco-Roman Empire, then it was the Roman Empire. So they took that time out because the book of Maccabees, it tells you what happened to the Northern Kingdom, how they became Greeks. That's why they wanted to take it out, because they didn't want to tell you. They didn't want us to know that when Paul spoke about the Jews and the Greeks, that the Jews was for the Southern Kingdom and the Greeks was the Northern Kingdom, and that the Northern Kingdom were the Gentiles he was speaking of. They didn't want us to know that because they know if we knew that, we could easily connect the dots like we do now. But since they took it away and they just kept us from the truth, they kept us from clicking up. They didn't want us to know that we were related. They didn't want us to know that us, so-called African Americans and our Hispanic brothers and sisters and our Native American brothers and sisters, that we all family. They didn't want us to know that. So they did that by taking that stuff away, taking the book away, taking the Apocrypha away. Even the book of Jasher, Enoch, Jubilees, they took those away. Now they're being restored to us. We know these things now. But even before we woke up to the truth, we all thought it was just 66 books because that's what they teach you. It's only 66. But, we don't have all of our ancient books right now. We can go to Joshua. Now Shepherd KD just brought this out the other day. Joshua chapter 10. Joshua chapter 10 verse 13. It says, "And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is it not written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day." So, Katie just broke this down yesterday, and it mentions the book of Jasher. That's a book that we didn't even know existed. I know a lot of us didn't know that book existed until we got into the truth. That book, they don't teach that book in the church house. They don't want us to know these things. Let's go to 1 Chronicles chapter 29 and verse 29. It's the second to last verse in this in the first book of Chronicles. 1 Chronicles 29 and 29. It says, "Now the acts of David the king, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of Samuel the seer, in the book of Nathan the prophet, and in the book of Gad the seer." See, we have Samuel's book, but we don't have Nathan the Gad's. Those are two books that we don't have. And those books were probably either taken away or they just might have been lost. But just to show you that we don't have everything, we don't have all of our books. Let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 12. 2 Chronicles chapter 12, it'll be verse 15. 2 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 15. It says, "Now the acts of Rehoboam, first and last, are they not written in the book of Shemaiah the prophet, and of Iddo the seer, concerning genealogies? And there were wars between Rehoboam and Jeroboam continually." So those are two other books that we don't have. Like I said, we don't know if those was probably, 9 times out of 10, I would probably put my bet that it was taken away. But they did this to keep us from the truth. They didn't want us to know, especially in the church houses and everything, they didn't want us to know that it was other ancient books. It was other books that were written that were that explain so many different stories. You know, for anyone who's ever looked in the book of Jasher, for me personally, I just feel like it shows how much more spiritual things were, how much in contact we were with the angels back then, and how much they really played a role in a lot of things that happened back then. You know, it's incredible the things that happened with our people that the angels were commissioned and, you know, were sent out to help us out with. But that book, I feel like the book of Jasher just shows you how, on a more spiritual sense, how things were, versus, you know, the way that they teach it is so much different than, you know, what's really out there. But here is where these heathens fucked up, or as, you know, KD says, you know, the coup de grace.